Well, good morning. You're watching the Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha television, your one-stop morning show for the news stories that you might have missed during the night and also the stories that are expected to unfold in the day ahead. My name is Aishwarya and these are the headlines. World Bank projects India's growth rate to 7.3% in 2018 and 7.5% for the next 2 years. Praises Modi government, says ambitious government undertaking comprehensive reforms. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to interact with the leading economists, top cabinet ministers and bureaucrats at Niti Aayog ahead of the union budget to deliberate on the road ahead for the economic policy to steer the nation towards a new India. Prime Minister Modi to attend World Economic Forum in Switzerland will deliver the keynote address at the plenary session. First visit by an Indian Prime Minister to the forum in 10 years. Modi likely to meet Donald Trump at the meet. At the first PIO Parliamentarian Conference, Prime Minister Modi hails delegates as India's permanent ambassadors. Vice President Venkaiah Naidu tells PIOs that their success is a clear reflection of strength of Indian values of assimilation and inclusiveness. And 18th All India Whips Conference concludes in Udaipur, deliberates on several issues including disruption of House proceedings, recommends a reform of zero hour and in structure of private members' business. Two-day meet hosted 90 delegates representing the centre and 19 states. Our top story this morning, the World Bank has said that India has enormous growth potential compared to other emerging economies. The World Bank has projected India's growth rate to 7.3% in 2018 and 7.5% in the next 2 years in its 2018 Global Economics Prospect released on Tuesday. In comparison with China, which is slowing, the World Bank is expecting India to gradually accelerate. The World Bank praised the Modi government, saying that India has an ambitious government undertaking comprehensive reforms and that the government is well aware of the short-term implications. The 20 Global Economics Prospect also says that despite initial setbacks from demonetization and goods and services tax rollout, India is estimated to have grown at 6.7% in 2017. Now, Ahen Jose, director of World Bank's Development Prospect Group, said that the growth numbers of the past 3 years were very healthy. Jose also said that to materialize its potential, India needs to take steps to boost investment prospects. Meanwhile, the World Bank has also forecast the global economy to edge up to 3.1% in 2018, expressing concern for the future growth potential of the world economy. On to the other top story of the day, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will interact with the leading economists and experts from across the country at Niti Aayog today. The select group of economists and sector experts have been invited by Niti Aayog for the deliberations with the Prime Minister on economic policy, the road ahead. The discussion will focus on 6 broad themes of macroeconomic balances, agriculture and rural development, urban development, infrastructure and connectivity, employment, manufacturing and exports, and health and education. The interaction is aimed at sharing the views of the experts from all over the country on the road ahead for the economic policy to steer the nation towards a new India. The meeting will be attended by Finance Minister Arun Jaitley, Road Transport and Highways Minister Nitin Gadkari, Agriculture Minister Radha Mohan Singh, Minister of State for Planning Rao Inderjeet Singh, along with the Vice Chairman Niti Aayog, members and CEOs of Niti Aayog and senior officials from the government. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi will also deliver the keynote address at the plenary session of the World Economic Forum in Davos on 23rd of January. Now, Commerce Minister Suresh Prabhu declared the government's agenda and participation in the forthcoming annual meeting of the World Economic Forum. The theme of this year's World Economic Forum is creating a shared future in a fractured world. The annual meeting will be attended by 350 political leaders, the chairs and chief executive officers of the world's most important companies, and over 1,000 leaders from among other walks of life. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be the first Indian Prime Minister to attend the annual meeting of the WEF since 1997.
Prime Minister goes there, like the Chinese President went there last year. You will see a complete buzz around that, and people will realize and they will like to listen to him. It will definitely help India to get inbound investment. It will also help India to portray a genuine, real profile of India into a right perspective. So this is very important. But Prime Minister, being a global leader, has been most sought after, and people have been inviting him.
And US President Donald Trump will also attend the World Economic Forum in Davos later this month, opening up a distinct possibility of a meeting with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Now, according to the White House, details of Trump's trip to Davos, including bilateral meetings, are being worked out. And this will be the first time in 18 years that a US president would be attending an annual gathering of global economic leaders. Of course, this is one big story that we'll keep tracking through the day. On to some other news. The first PIO Parliamentarian Conference concluded yesterday at the national capital. Now, the conference was inaugurated by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and welcoming the delegates, the Prime Minister hailed them as India's permanent ambassadors abroad. He called them India's partners in development, as the laurels they earned in their Karam Bhumi reflects favorably on their motherland.
Reform, come invest in India and act as a catalyst in the country's growth. That was the message Prime Minister Narendra Modi had for the hundreds of PIO parliamentarians who came from across the globe to be part of the first PIO Parliamentarian Conference in New Delhi. He dubbed the Indian diaspora as the country's permanent ambassadors, saying they helped further ties and improve relations with the nations they were residing in.
भारत की विकास यात्रा में हाथ बटाने के लिए प्रवासी भारतीयों के सामने कई एवेन्यूज है। पूरे विश्व में प्रवासी रेमिटेंसेस का सबसे बड़ा रेसिपिएंट भारत है। भारत की अर्थव्यवस्था में इस महत्वपूर्ण योगदान के लिए हम विदेश में रहकर भारतीय के जो विदेश में रह रहे हमारे भारतीय हैं, हम उनके ऋणी हैं।
The Prime Minister said that in the last few years, India's polity and economy have witnessed an irreversible change, which has led to greater focus on the country as well as a shift in the outlook of the world towards India. In his speech, the Prime Minister also asserted that India does not eye anyone's territory and resources, saying its model of development aid was not based on give and take. His comments come amid increasing Chinese efforts to expand its influence in the subcontinent.
हमने किसी भी देश के प्रति अपनी नीति को फायदे नुकसान के तराजू पर नहीं तोला है, बल्कि उसे मानवीय मूल्यों के प्रिज्म से देखा है। हमारा डेवलपमेंट एड देने का मॉडल भी गिव एंड टेक पर आधारित नहीं है, बल्कि यह उन देशों की आवश्यकताओं और प्राथमिकताओं पर निर्भर करता है।
Prime Minister Modi also urged the PIOs to spread India's message of inclusive philosophy, Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas. He also appreciated External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj's efforts in making the Foreign Ministry more open and accessible, especially lauding her personal outreach to all those who petitioned her for help on Twitter. The External Affairs Minister credited the Prime Minister for the transformation in the country's governance and its rising stature globally.
भारत ग्लोबल एजेंडा तय करने वाला एक देश बना हुआ है। G20 में प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जाते हैं तो ब्लैक मनी को सेंटर स्टेज पर लेकर आते हैं और केवल कहकर नहीं चले आते, घर में वापस लौटने के बाद डिमोनेटाइजेशन और जीएसटी जैसे साहसिक निर्णय करके विश्व को दिखाते हैं कि हम जो कहते हैं वो करते हैं।
Every year, 9th of January is celebrated as Pravasi Bharatiya Divas, an annual event to celebrate the contribution of overseas persons of Indian origin towards their homeland. This was the first PIO Parliamentarian Conference. It was attended by 134 elected representatives from 24 countries, including France, Fiji, Switzerland and Mauritius. With inputs from Akhilesh Suman, Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu has asserted that the success of the Indian diaspora in different parts of the world is a clear reflection of the strength of the Indian values of assimilation and inclusiveness. His remarks came in a keynote address at the valedictory session of the first ever PIO Parliamentarians Conference in New Delhi.
Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu on Tuesday commended the success of the over 3 crore persons of Indian origin across the world. He said the presence of such a large number of elected representatives of Indian origin in legislatures clearly reflects the strength of the Indian values of inclusivity and assimilation.
The presence of such a large number of elected representatives of Indian origin in legislature, such a large number of countries from across the world goes beyond the symbolism of the expanding horizons of the influence of India in the global scheme of things. In my considered view, it is a clear reflection of the strength of the Indian values of inclusivity and also assimilation, nurtured and consolidated over the centuries since ancient times.
Stating that Indian nationalism refers to the pride associated with inclusive humanism that is native to India, the Vice President said Indians and those who have roots in India can be genuinely proud of such time-tested values that constitute the principle of unity of mankind.
We believe in all living together. That's the philosophy of this country. That's why we can be proud of this heritage and culture and also of our roots. Some misguided persons here and there may make small statements, and for the sake of news that may become headline, but I can tell you next day they will become a deadline, because that is not the line of India.
Vice President Naidu said the Indian diaspora is the second largest such community in the world and has contributed enormously to strengthening India's bonds in diverse fields across the world. Referring to the story of the little squirrel contributing its bit to the making of a bridge across the sea for Lord Ram to reach Lanka in the Ramayana, he urged the community to contribute in an appropriate manner to the ongoing efforts to build a new India. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And PIO parliamentarians who were attending the conference have appreciated the government's efforts in organizing such an event. They said that initiatives like these will not only help India improve its ties with the other nations, but will also increase its business and tourism. They also praised Prime Minister Narendra Modi for his encouraging address at the event.
India on Tuesday hosted 121 MPs and 18 mayors from 24 countries at the first Pravasi Parliamentarians Conference in New Delhi. Expressing their satisfaction at the way the event was conducted, the parliamentarians complimented Prime Minister Narendra Modi on his speech.
Well, firstly, I found the speech of Prime Minister Modi to be highly motivational, highly inspirational. I consider that he had a very clear vision of what he wants for India. I've been visiting India since 1972, and this is my 10th visit to India. But the transformation that I've seen in the last 5 years has been phenomenal. Really phenomenal. Not just in infrastructure, but I see a very big shift in the way people are now disciplined about India and about what they want for India.
The parliamentarians said the event has given them a whole new perspective about India and the Indian development story.
I had a very different picture of India. When I reached here, it's very developed. Delhi is very clean, contrary to what we are told to believe. And the main thing is that the rule in India, the powers that may be, are very focused on development.
The conference also saw the participation of Indian origin parliamentarians from Britain, who felt the endeavour will only help improve networking among Indian origin people in different countries.
My contention is that this was probably the best thing the Indian government could do, invite so many countries in one go and talk to them in one shot. So we people are all going to go back with one message in different countries, which means that we will be talking something which is of strength for the country.
The first of its kind, the event was intended to reinforce the India connect of the diaspora. And judging by the reactions of the participants, it seems to have achieved its objective.
As someone said, that sun never sets in Indian extended diaspora family. And someone also said that Indian diaspora is national reserve of India. Whoever attended the conference feels that this will help both India and the diaspora. It will be interesting to see that how this process evolves in coming days. Akhilesh Suman for Rajya Television with camera person Saroj in Delhi.
On to some other news. Now today is the last day for filing of nominations for the upcoming Lok Sabha and Assembly by-election. The by-elections will be held on the 29th of January to fill up 3 vacancies in Lok Sabha, and polling will be held for Rajasthan's Ajmer and Alwar constituencies and West Bengal's Uluberia. The by-elections will be held to fill 1 casual vacancy each in the state assemblies of Rajasthan and West Bengal. Polling will take place on 29th of January for by-polls in Rajasthan's Mandalgarh seat and Neopara constituency in West Bengal. And counting of votes for both the Lok Sabha and State Assembly by-polls will be held on 1st of February. And Vice President Naidu will begin his 10-day tour to Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu and Karnataka from today. In Andhra Pradesh, the Vice President will visit Tirupati and Nellore. In Tamil Nadu, Vice President Naidu will visit Chennai and Tiruvalur's Thiruvarkadu. On the last leg of his tour, the Vice President will visit Bengaluru. And Vice President Naidu earlier met the representatives of World Memory Council at the VP House on Tuesday, and children who participated in the World Memory Championship were part of the delegation. And the Vice President congratulated the team of Indian children and their coach on securing 4th position in the championship. Vice President Naidu also held a long conversation with the children there. He told them that that along with memory, it is also important to develop our ability to understand and analyze. Vice President also expressed happiness over the meeting and wished the children a bright future. And Foreign Minister of Maldives, Mohammed Asim, arrived in New Delhi this morning on a 3-day visit to India. Mohammed Asim will hold talks with External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj on Thursday and discuss key bilateral issues. Mohammed Asim will also call on Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Thursday. Maldives' Foreign Minister is visiting as the special envoy of the Maldives President amid reports of Maldives signing a free trade agreement with China. The Ministry of External Affairs has said that India expects that as a close and friendly neighbor, the island nation will be sensitive to India's concern in keeping with its India's first policy. The 2-day-long 18th All India Whips Conference concluded in Udaipur on Tuesday, and 10 recommendations regarding reforms in legislatures and parliament were discussed and adopted unanimously by the conference. Are the details. 10 recommendations were adopted unanimously in the concluding session of the 18th All India Whips Conference in Udaipur on Tuesday. The recommendations included reform of 0 hour for prompt reply and action taken report from concerned ministry, developing the concept of committee hour for discussing reports of various committees by the legislatures, reforms in the structure of private members' business, legislative framework for more working days in both union and state legislatures, infrastructural and institutional support to chief whips for better coordination and functioning of legislatures and parliament, digitization of the secretariats of the state legislatures, consensus building in the legislatures for not going to the well of the house by the members. The follow-up action on the recommendations made by the conference will be taken by Union Ministry of Parliamentary Affairs.
तो छोटे दल हैं, उनको हाउस में ज्यादा बोलने को मिलता है। मेरा ऐसा अनुभव है, जैसे उसको 3 मिनट का टाइम है ना, वो 3 मिनट में चुप नहीं रहता ना, वो 10 मिनट 15 मिनट बोलते ही हैं। तो छोटे दल को ज्यादा अधिकार मिलता है। इनका यहाँ कहना था कि ये प्रणाली है, स्पीकर तय करती है, बीजेपी इतना मिनट, कांग्रेस इतना मिनट, एज पर द मेंबर ऑफ द इन द हाउस। उनका ये कहना था कि ये प्रणाली खत्म हो, लेकिन प्रैक्टिकली उनको समय ज्यादा मिलता है, सत्ता पक्ष को कम मिलता है, क्योंकि सिस्टम यही है कि हाउस बिलोंग्स टू ए अपोजिशन.
For upgrading skills of lawmakers, the conference also pitched for developing the Bureau of Parliamentary Studies and Training as a national academy for training. The conference expressed desire to embrace e-Vidhan to enable state legislators to become paperless, productive and accountable to the citizens and economize the entire legislative process. The two-day meet hosted around 90 delegates from the centre and 19 states and was inaugurated by Union Minister of Parliamentary Affairs Anant Kumar on Monday. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. Let's get you all the weather updates. And the cold wave sweeping North India continues to tighten its grip in the region, and dense fog also forced the Indian Railways to cancel 22 trains and rescheduled another 8. It also delayed 45 northbound trains. Now, Delhi recorded the season's lowest minimum temperature at 4.2 degrees Celsius on Tuesday, which is 3 notches below the average. Meanwhile, in Uttar Pradesh, the day temperature fell markedly in Bareilly division. The lowest minimum temperature in the state was in Meerut at 2.9 degrees Celsius. Biting cold conditions also persisted in parts of Himachal Pradesh, with the minimum temperature in the hills ranging between -13 and -20 degrees Celsius. In Bihar, Bhagalpur was the coldest at 4 degrees Celsius, which is 8 notches below normal. Punjab, Haryana and Chandigarh remained under the grip of intense cold conditions. Narnaul recorded the lowest minimum temperature in the state at 0.2 degrees Celsius. The minimum temperature remained up to 5 degrees below normal in parts of Punjab and Haryana. And the Supreme Court has indicated that it would deliver its verdict on the decades-old Kaveri water dispute between the states of Tamil Nadu and Karnataka within a month. The Supreme Court said on Tuesday that enough confusion has been created on it for over 2 decades now. The top court has reserved its verdict on the appeals filed by Karnataka, Tamil Nadu and Kerala against the 2007 verdict of the Kaveri Water Dispute Tribunal on sharing of water. The sharing of Kaveri water has been a source of conflict between the states of Tamil Nadu and Karnataka. Big story coming in from Pakistan, where 7 people were killed and 23 others were wounded on Tuesday when a bomb went off in the center of the Pakistani city of Quetta, which is the capital of the province of Balochistan. The blast targeted a police truck on Zargun Road, which is close to a high security area where the provincial assembly and other government offices are located. Police said that a suicide bomber walked up to the truck and blew himself up. The attack was claimed by Tehreek-e-Taliban. The bodies of 5 policemen and 2 civilians as well as the wounded victims were brought to the civil hospital. Some of the injured are in a serious condition. Pakistan Prime Minister Shahid Khaqan Abbasi has condemned the terrorist attack targeting security personnel. Remember, Quetta has been at the center of recent violence in Pakistan. Last month, at least 8 people were killed and dozens were wounded in a suicide and gun attack in a church in Quetta. And the blast in Quetta came hours after Balochistan Chief Minister Nawab Sawaludda Zehri resigned on Tuesday. Now, this after Pakistan Prime Minister Shahid Khaqan Abbasi failed to resolve a political crisis in Pakistan's biggest province. Balochistan lawmakers had expressed a lack of confidence in the Chief Minister, citing unfulfilled commitments, while key ministers and advisors had turned dissidents, sparking a series of resignations and sackings. The Prime Minister of the country, Abbasi, is said to have advised Zehri to resign after Baloch opposition leaders rejected his invitations for a meeting during which he was expected to attempt gathering some support for the beleaguered Chief Minister. The opposition was expected to table a no-confidence motion against Zehri in the Provincial Assembly. And that's it from me and the entire Breakfast News team at the moment. But news and updates continue on Rajya Sabha television. Thanks for watching.